There are weights we carry that no one else can see. Not the weight in our hands, but the weight in our mind. The silent responsibilities you never volunteered for. The emotions you absorbed from others. The memories you kept long after they stopped reflecting reality. And the quiet belief that you must carry everything alone. But the Stoics remind us of something both simple and freeing. You are not harmed by events themselves, but by the judgments you place on them. Much of our suffering doesn't come from life itself, but from what we continue to hold long after life has already moved forward. Today, I want to guide you back gently, a way to set down what no longer belongs to you, to loosen your grip on old stories, and to let peace find its way back home. If you're ready, let's begin. 1. You are carrying emotional weight that was never yours. There are emotions you were never meant to hold. Burdens life placed near you, not on you. Yet you picked them up anyway, quietly, instinctively, almost as if there were no alternative. We are taught to be strong by absorbing the pain of others, to be responsible by carrying their fears, their disappointments, their expectations, to be compassionate by holding emotional storms they never learned how to calm. But the weight becomes yours only when you decide it must stay. You have carried sorrow that didn't begin in your heart. You have carried guilt that never came from your actions. You have carried pressure shaped by someone else's brokenness. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that not everything placed at your feet is yours to lift. The Stoics remind us that suffering grows when we confuse what belongs to others with what belongs to us. Their emotions are not your obligation. Their chaos is not your responsibility. Their unhappiness is not a debt you must repay. You are allowed to return what was never meant for your hands. A quiet peace begins the moment you whisper to yourself, "This is not mine to carry." A deeper peace follows when you truly believe it. Because when you stop holding emotions that never belonged to you, your mind becomes light enough for peace to return. 2. Pain stays heavy when you don't name it. Unspoken pain becomes lasting pain. What you refuse to name eventually starts to own you, and the emotions you avoid become the heaviest ones to carry. Most people don't collapse under the weight of life. They collapse under the weight of what they refuse to face. The quiet disappointments, the unacknowledged wounds, the emotional bruises that never had space to breathe. Stoicism teaches clarity, not denial. It teaches honesty with the self, not suppression. You cannot release what you pretend isn't there, and you cannot heal a wound you keep hidden in the dark corners of your mind. There comes a moment in every life when the pain itself doesn't grow. We simply keep dragging it forward. We replay the same memories. We repeat the same stories. We relive the same conversations, as if rewriting them could somehow change the past. But when you name the pain gently and truthfully, it stops being a shadow and becomes something you can finally put down. Naming it doesn't make you weak. It makes you free, because once pain is acknowledged, it loses its power to shape your days. And in that quiet shift, peace begins to return. Not loudly, not suddenly. Just like a familiar presence finding its way home after being gone too long. 3. You carry memories as if they are obligations. Some memories stay not because they matter, but because you never allowed them to leave. Some pain lingers not because it is strong, but because you keep rehearsing it. Some moments from your past still weigh on you simply because you believed you had to carry them. We often treat memories like responsibilities, as if holding on proves something. Loyalty, strength, endurance. But the truth is simpler. You carry them because you were never taught how to set them down. You repeat them because the mind mistakes familiarity for safety, even when the memory hurts. The Stoics remind us that the past is a story, not a prison. What happened was real, but the version you keep reliving is something you recreate each time you return to it. Your suffering is no longer tied to the event, it is tied to the attachment. You are not trapped by what occurred, but by what you keep choosing to remember. There is no virtue in holding memories that drain you, no lesson in replaying scenes that have already taught you everything they could, no honor in punishing yourself with moments that ended long ago. The past doesn't become lighter with time. It becomes lighter when you stop carrying it. When you let a memory go, you are not betraying it. You are freeing yourself to breathe again. You are giving your heart permission to return to the present. And with every memory you release, peace takes one quiet step closer to home. 4. You carry invisible responsibilities that drain you. You carry more than most people ever notice, not because you were asked to, but because somewhere inside you, a quiet belief formed. If I don't hold everything together, everything will fall apart. This belief turns ordinary days into emotional labor. You check the mood of the room before you check your own. You absorb tension to keep the peace. You soften your voice, your presence, your needs, just so others don't feel discomfort. Slowly, you begin to confuse emotional exhaustion with compassion. But compassion does not mean carrying the world on your back. It does not mean becoming the emotional container for everyone else. And in its truest Stoic sense, compassion never meant abandoning yourself to save another. The moment you sacrifice your well-being to preserve someone else's stability, you stop helping and start breaking. Stoicism draws a clear boundary. There is what belongs to you, and there is what belongs to others. The moment you cross that boundary, everything becomes heavier than it needs to be. You cannot regulate someone else's emotions. You cannot fix a mind that does not want to heal. You cannot be the hero in a story that isn't yours. And you cannot keep pouring from a cup that has been empty for too long. Yet many people live as if they must absorb every emotional ripple around them. They become the strong one, the stable one, the one who understands. But those roles come with hidden costs: burnout, resentment, numbness, and a quiet grief for the self that keeps shrinking. You were never meant to be the emotional anchor for everyone you love. Sometimes people must carry their own storms. Sometimes they must feel the weight of their choices. Sometimes they must walk through discomfort to grow. When you take away someone's struggle, you also take away their chance to become stronger. But the world taught you to equate love with sacrifice, so you practice self-erasure gently, consistently, silently, until you no longer remember where your boundaries began. You call it responsibility, but it is really fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being seen as unkind. Yet there is nothing unkind about choosing not to drown. There is nothing wrong with stepping back from battles that were never yours. There is nothing selfish about protecting your peace. Stoicism is not about withdrawing from life. It is about showing up with integrity, not depletion. Peace begins when you remember a simple truth. You are responsible for your intentions, not their interpretations. You are responsible for your actions, not their emotions. You are responsible for your boundaries, not how others react to them. When you finally separate what belongs to you from what does not, the invisible weight begins to fall away. And in that gentle unburdening, something beautiful happens. Space returns to your chest, breath returns to your body, life returns to your spirit. Because when you stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours, peace quietly and naturally comes home. 5. The mind suffers when it tries to control what it cannot. Nothing exhausts the mind more than trying to manage what was never in your hands. Nothing drains the spirit faster than believing peace depends on shaping a world that will never fully obey you. And nothing feels heavier than the illusion that you must fix what is fundamentally outside your reach. People spend years wrestling with what refuses to be controlled. They replay conversations, hoping to change what was already said. They analyze someone else's behavior, trying to make it make sense. They carry guilt for outcomes they never had the power to influence, and they confuse responsibility with ownership, even when the situation was never theirs to command. Stoicism offers one of its most liberating teachings here. There is what you control, and there is what you do not. Peace appears the moment you stop living on the wrong side of that line. You control your thoughts, but not the thoughts of others. You control your responses, but not the emotions around you. You control your effort, but not the results life chooses to deliver. You control your values, but not how others interpret your choices. Suffering begins when the mind forgets these boundaries, when it tries to force outcomes, when it attempts to rewrite perception, when it begs for certainty in a world shaped by uncertainty, when it believes love, respect, stability or clarity can be guaranteed through worry. But worry is not control. It is self-punishment. Rumination is not preparation. It is emotional erosion. Overthinking is not problem-solving. It is the slow tightening of a weight that was never meant to be lifted. The more you resist what you cannot command, the heavier it becomes. Letting go is not surrender. It is not passivity. It is the quiet recognition that your power lives in how you meet reality, not how you bend it. The Stoics never said, "Do not care." They said, "Care where your influence is real." When you anchor your energy to what is truly yours, something shifts. Your breath softens, your chest loosens, your clarity returns. Life begins to feel less like a battlefield and more like a landscape you can walk through without collapsing. The world becomes lighter, not because it changed, but because you stopped gripping what you could never hold. You stop demanding perfection from chaos. You stop pulling answers from silence. You stop negotiating with uncertainty as if it owes you peace. And in that release, the weight that once felt unbearable begins to dissolve. The mind, freed from its impossible task, finally rests. And in that steady stillness, peace comes home. 6. You resist letting go because the pain became familiar. Some pain stays not because it is powerful, but because it is familiar. Some burdens remain not because they belong to you, but because you have carried them for so long that you no longer recognize yourself without them. Letting go doesn't feel hard because the weight is heavy. It feels hard because the weight feels like home. The mind clings to the familiar, even when it hurts. It confuses repetition with safety and emotional patterns with identity. You replay the same stories because they are the only ones you trust. And part of you believes that without this old pain, you might lose a piece of yourself. But Stoicism teaches that identity is not built from suffering. It is built from clarity, from wisdom, not wounds. You do not become stronger by gripping the past. You become stronger by understanding it, honoring it, and then allowing it to release you. Pain is a teacher, not a destination. The truth is subtle, yet life-changing. You do not fear the pain ending. You fear the emptiness that might follow. You fear the quiet after the storm. You fear the version of yourself no longer defined by what once hurt you. So you hold on, not out of strength, but out of familiarity. But holding on is its own form of suffering. It keeps your heart tied to places you have outgrown. It keeps your mind anchored to stories that no longer reflect who you are. It freezes your life in moments meant to shape you, not imprison you. Letting go does not erase what happened. It does not deny the depth of your experience. It simply removes the chains that kept the experience alive long after it ended. Letting go is the quiet decision to choose your future over familiar wounds. The Stoics understood this deeply. Freedom begins when you stop arguing with what has already occurred. Peace arrives when you stop grieving the version of yourself that lived inside the pain. You are allowed to step out of the role suffering assigned to you. Something shifts the moment you decide to release it. Your breath changes. Your body feels lighter. Your mind opens in a way it hasn't for years. It is the first sign that old patterns are loosening their grip. Letting go is not forgetting. It is remembering who you were before the weight settled in, remembering that you were not born carrying sadness, guilt, or heaviness. You learned them, and therefore you can unlearn them. And in that quiet unlearning, peace finally has space to come home. It moves toward you gently, patiently, as if it always knew the way, waiting only for the moment your hands became free enough to receive it. 7. Peace comes when you stop carrying what the present does not need. There is a moment in every life when the present whispers something the mind has been too busy to hear. You don't need to carry this anymore. But when the mind is tangled in old stories, old fears and old roles, that whisper is buried beneath the noise of everything you think you must still hold. The truth is simple and often overlooked. Most of the weight you feel today does not belong to today. Much of your exhaustion comes from burdens that have outlived their purpose, and most of your suffering is rooted not in what is happening now, but in what you refuse to release. The present moment is light, it is uncluttered, it is free from yesterday's ghosts and tomorrow's expectations. It asks nothing from you except your presence, but it cannot welcome you if your hands are still full of what the past demanded. The Stoics understood this clearly. Life happens only here, not in memories you replay, and not in futures you fear. Suffering grows when the mind tries to live everywhere except the moment unfolding now. And peace returns the moment you stop forcing the present to carry the weight of every version of you that came before. Your mind has become a crowded room. There are inherited fears, unhealed wounds, responsibilities that were never yours, and identities you outgrew long ago. The present has no place for these things, so it waits quietly and patiently for the moment you choose to carry only what belongs to now. You cannot step into peace while dragging the world behind you. You cannot feel lightness while arguing with the past. You cannot find clarity while negotiating with imagined futures. And you cannot feel at home within yourself while forcing the present to carry the weight of years you never allowed to rest. Pause for a moment. Look at your life exactly as it exists right now, not as it once was, not as you fear it may become. Ask yourself gently and honestly, what is the present actually asking of me? The answer is almost always smaller, kinder, and lighter than what the mind demands. The present does not ask you to fix everything. It does not ask you to carry unspoken expectations. It does not ask you to heal every wound in a single breath. It only asks you to meet it as you are, without dragging your entire history as proof that you must remain heavy. Peace begins when you stop demanding that today redeem yesterday. It grows when you stop replaying conversations you cannot change. It settles when you stop preparing for outcomes that may never arrive. It arrives when you stop arguing with what is and allow yourself to belong to the moment you are living. There is a quiet tenderness in choosing the present, a subtle act of self-respect, a refusal to let yesterday dictate your emotional reality. In that refusal, something soft begins to open inside you, something that has waited a long time to breathe. The mind believes holding on creates safety. It believes revisiting pain creates control. It believes anticipating loss creates protection. But all it creates is distance. Distance from the life in front of you. Distance from who you are becoming. Distance from the peace that has been trying to return. When you stop carrying what the present does not require, you begin to feel yourself again. You notice the quiet wonder of ordinary moments. You taste the calm simplicity of being here. You trust the rhythm of your breath instead of the rhythm of old fear. You realize the present has always been your home. You just stopped living in it. You were renting space in the past, negotiating with the future, surviving inside your mind. Life did not abandon you. Peace did not leave. You were simply too weighed down to hear them knocking. As the weights fall one by one, you rediscover something deeply human. Peace is not something you chase. It is something revealed when the unnecessary is set down. It appears when emotional clutter is released. It emerges when the mind stops insisting that everything unresolved must be carried. And then, almost quietly, peace steps back into your life. Not dramatically, not loudly, but with the familiarity of something that always belonged to you. It steadies your breath. It reminds you of yourself. And when the present finally becomes enough, when the past is allowed to rest, when the mind loosens its grip, peace does not visit. It comes home. 8. Peace comes home when you come home to yourself. There comes a moment when you realize something essential. Peace is not found in a place, a person, a milestone, or an achievement. Peace appears when you return to the one place you avoided the most, yourself. For years, you lived everywhere except within your own presence. You lived in memories, imagined futures, expectations, old wounds, and mental noise. You wandered so far from your inner home that silence began to feel unfamiliar. The Stoics understood what many forget. Your life only happens inside you. Your peace is only accessible from within. The moment you step back into yourself, even briefly, the world softens. You do not lose peace because life is chaotic. You lose peace because you leave the inner place where peace naturally lives. You forget to return. You forget to listen. You forget that the doorway to calm has always existed within your attention. When you come home to yourself, you stop forcing the world to make sense. You stop demanding others behave a certain way to soothe your fears. You stop chasing validation, closure, or certainty as if peace depends on winning those battles. Instead, you anchor yourself where your influence is real, your inner state. This is what the Stoics meant by confining yourself to the present, not shrinking your life, but returning to the self you keep abandoning. Coming home to yourself is not escaping life, it is the only way to live it fully. When you are present with yourself, you stop drowning in the emotional storms of others. You stop carrying burdens that were never yours. You stop mistaking noise for truth and urgency for importance. A quiet shift happens. You hear the difference between your voice and your fears. You feel the strength beneath anxiety. You recognize that your worth was never tied to how much pain you could carry. Peace is not built. It is uncovered by removing what blocks it. Coming home to yourself allows your body to unclench, your shoulders to lower, your heart to exist without explanation. It is breathing without justification, healing without rushing, being without performing. Even for a moment, you feel the softness of life again. You touch something steady inside you, untouched by opinion, unmoved by noise. A stillness that does not require perfection. And slowly, peace moves toward you, not as a reward, but as recognition, as if it has been waiting patiently while you circled the edges of your own life. When you finally open the door, it enters gently, respectfully, like stepping into sacred space, because that is what you are, a home you forgot how to live in. To come home to yourself is to stop searching for what was never missing, to stop running from your own presence, to stop believing peace arrives through achievement or certainty. Peace comes when you return to the moment your mind keeps leaving. It comes when you trust your breath. It comes when you rediscover the center you abandoned long ago. Peace does not wait for life to become perfect. It arrives when you stop carrying what no longer belongs to you. Every weight you release, every memory you allow to rest, every responsibility you return to its rightful place creates space for calm to return. You do not need to earn peace. You do not need to chase it. You only need to stop abandoning yourself long enough to feel it come home.